John chapter 21. This is a very interesting story. I'll give you some context after we read it because that's just the way I want to do it. So we'll start in verse 1. It says, "Later, Jesus appeared once again to a group of his disciples by Lake Galilee. It happened one day while Peter, Thomas, the twin, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, Jacob, John, and two other disciples were all together. Peter told them, 'I'm going fishing.' And they all replied, 'We'll go with you.' So they went out and fished through the night, but caught nothing. Then at dawn, Jesus was standing there on the shore, but the disciples didn't realize that it was him. He called out to them, saying, 'Hey guys, did you catch any fish?' 'Not a thing,' they replied. Jesus shouted, 'Throw your net over the starboard side, and you'll catch some.' And so they did as he said, and they caught so many fish they couldn't even pull in the net. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, 'It's the Lord.' When Peter heard him say that, he quickly wrapped his outer garment around him, and because he was athletic, he dove right into the lake to go to Jesus. The other disciples then brought the boat to shore, dragging their catch of fish. They weren't far from land, only about 100 meters. When they got to shore, they noticed a charcoal fire with some roasted fish and bread. Then Jesus said, 'Bring some of the fish that you just caught.' So Peter waded into the water and helped pull the net to shore. It was full of many large fish, exactly 153. But even with so many fish, the net was not torn. 'Come, let's have some breakfast,' Jesus said to them. And not one of the disciples needed to ask who it was, because every one of them knew it was the Lord. Then Jesus came close to them and served them bread and the fish. This was the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples after his resurrection. I've titled today's message, Breakfast with Jesus. Breakfast with Jesus. So as the scriptures tell us, this was the third time that Jesus had appeared to his disciples post-resurrection. So what has happened here is that Jesus has predicted his death, burial, and resurrection, and he's the only person in history to pull it off, to say he would do it, to actually do it, and then to be here appearing to his disciples. And this is, as it says, the third time that he has been appearing to his disciples. But think about it for just a moment. So you have this, you have Jesus who comes onto the scene as a baby, and we get a little glimpse of Jesus as a baby, and then we get a little bit more of a glimpse of him as a toddler in the Bible. Then we get a glimpse of him as like 12-year-old boy, and then you have this huge gap. You pretty much don't get most of Jesus' life until he's about around, scholars believe, the age of 30. And then from the age of 30 to 33, we have pretty much most of his life in Scripture from the age of, for those 3 years. And for those 3 years, he had been with these 12 guys. At this point, 11, but then they're going to pick up another one. But if you don't know the context of that, we'll talk about it later. But these guys have been with him for a while. Here we have 7 disciples who have went fishing. And think about this for just a moment. They are with Jesus all this time for 3 years, and he's telling them, "Look, guys, eventually my time's coming, and I'm going to die, but guess what? I'm not going to stay dead. I'm going to get back up." And he tells them all this, and, I'm sure they struggled with their doubts, like, I don't know if this is going to happen. I'm sure when he was in the tomb, they're really doubting, and like, I don't know if he's coming back. They feel like it's over, it's done. They're really sad. Well, then he actually pulls it off, and he does it. And now here they are. Think about the headspace that they must have been in this moment. I mean, for me, I'm thinking things must have been in limbo at this point in time. They're a little emotionally unsettled. I have a lot of questions about what the implications are of Jesus' return. Because here he is, he's returned, and now he's appearing to us, and this is the third time he's appeared to us. But before this, I'm thinking before this third appearance, he's appeared to them twice, and they're really like, okay, he did this is crazy. Like, are they going to come after us and kill us? Like, they're really in limbo. And here they are. They are thinking, they're hoping that Jesus is going to establish at this point, now that he's died and come back to life, they're thinking, okay, he's going to establish a real kingdom. Because he's talked about this kingdom for so long. And here he is back on the earth, so he must be going to establish a tangible kingdom where he is on a throne, and then we're all like, presidents and vice presidents, and it's like a government, and we're going to overthrow Rome, and that's the plan in their mind. They're thinking that this thing has to be tangible at this point. They're in limbo. They're confused. They're questioning, because here he is, he appeared, he's gone again. Here he is, he appears, he's gone again. And here they are, and they're like, I can't take this anymore. And see, this is what today's message is all about. There's a struggle going on in our lives and in our minds that is the same struggle that was going on with these disciples. Specifically Peter, because we're really going to hone in on Peter later on. But here's the struggle. The first is what we think, what I think is important. That's number one. The second thing is what the world tells us is important. That's another tug and pull. And then the third thing is what's actually really important. And so here they are, and they're being tugged in all these different directions. They're in limbo. They have a lot of questions. Is he going to establish a real kingdom? He keeps coming and leaving, and this is confusing. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what comes next? I gave up my life for this, because what's interesting is the beginning. We're going to read it later or look at it later. This is a reference because this is interesting. This happened once at the beginning of Jesus' ministry. In Luke chapter 5 is what it was. In the beginning of the ministry, this is where Jesus actually asked Peter and some of the guys, hey, join me. Come and follow me. I'll make you fishers of men. The very same scene happens. They're out on the lake of Galilee, and he tells them, hey, go. They caught nothing all night. He's like, hey, go out to the deep and throw it out in the middle of the day. It's horrible fishing advice, because the best time to fish was at night and in the shallow, and he tells them to go into the deep and in the day, and they do it anyways, and everything they pull in, I'm basically telling you everything that happens, so we won't read it later, but they pull in a huge catch that is tearing the nets. And this is at the beginning of the ministry, and they sold their life out to this. They gave up everything. They came and they followed Jesus, and they became fishers of men. But here it is, limbo. He's gone, he's back, he's gone, he's back. What comes next? What are we going? Is he going to establish a real kingdom? Is he going to stay? Because he keeps like disappearing. Like this is a magician's act. I don't know what he's doing. Like, what does my life look like? What does my career look like? So Peter and some of these guys, they're fishermen. Literally, that was their profession. They were really good at fishing. Like, that's how they made their living. What does life look like now? What does my career look like now? What does my job look like now? Am I going to go back to fishing? Is he coming and I'm going to be like the vice president of this whole operation? All this is going through Peter's mind. He's got a lot of questions. All these guys have got a lot of questions. So Peter's just frustrated because they're waiting, and Jesus is just, hey guys, bye guys, hey guys. And it's like, what's he doing? What's going on? Maybe you feel that way sometimes, like you're in life and you're like, I could really use a pop-in from Jesus right now. Like, where's he at? And then here it is. Peter's like, all right, I'm over it. I need to clear my mind. Maybe if you've ever done this, I need to escape. I'm going fishing. Maybe yours is not fishing. Maybe your escape is something else, but you're just getting away. Like, I can't handle this anymore. I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know if he's going to appear again. I don't know what my life looks like, but I'm going to go back to what I know and what I could do. I'm going to go fishing, see if I'm any good at this still. It's been 3 years. I'm sure they fish, but you know what I'm saying. Like, he's like, I'm going to go back to this. And all the guys are like, oh, well, we'll go with you, because they're sick of it too. Like, they're like, well, I don't want to stay here because Thomas is annoying and he keeps doubting, so I'm going to go with, actually, Thomas goes. But anyways, so here they are, and they're out and they're fishing. And it says that they've caught nothing. Just like the parallel is amazing, because the beginning of Jesus' ministry, I told you it starts with this huge catch where Jesus tells them, hey, he gives them horrible fishing advice and it works. And then the end of his ministry, a very same picture in John chapter 21, we have the same picture, and it says they went at night and they caught nothing. Well, Here it is in verse 4. It says Jesus was standing there on the shore, but the disciples didn't realize that it was him. We're going to talk about that in just a minute because I think that's interesting, how they didn't realize that it was him. But this is where we're at right now. He says, hey guys, did you catch any fish? And they're like, not a thing. So they're having this conversation with this guy on shore. It says about 100 meters. 100 meters is 109 yards. I looked it up. That means it's a little bit more football season. It's a little bit more than a football field, which is going to get interesting in a minute because what Peter does. So he says, throw your net on the other side and you'll catch some. Jesus, they're thinking to themselves, you got to be kidding me. Like, we're professionals at this. I mean, but they give in. It says that they do it because I think, you know why I think that they did this? Because I think they remembered Luke chapter 5. I think when Jesus yells this man, to them it's just a stranger. They don't realize it's Jesus. I think when he yells this, they're like, they're cracking up. You're like, you remember Luke 5 where this guy, and it worked? Like, they're reminiscing on moments with Jesus. They're like, well, we'll just listen to this guy. He's probably crazy, but we'll do it anyway. So they toss it to the other side. But here's what's crazy. There is no more fish on the other side. It's not about the other side, because let me tell you, these boats, historical context tells us that it's about 7.5 feet from side to side. So you're telling me if I'm fishing on this side, if I move it 7.5 feet, somehow there's fish on this side. And not just fish, a lot of fish, 153 fish. You're telling me that there just happens to be, it's not about the side. There's something more going on here. So what is the difference here? What's the difference? Why does Jesus say, hey, throw it on the other side. Throw it on the starboard side. And then they catch all these fish. Why does it's not about the side. You need to realize this today. And this is where I want to make observation one when it comes to our lives. Many of us, just like Peter, we're getting frustrated. I ain't seen Jesus in a while. He keeps appearing and disappearing, and this is a whole act, and I can't handle it. I just need to get away. I'm going to go do what I know I can do. I'm going to handle my business on my own. If he shows up, great, but you know what? I'm just going to do me. And we get like Peter sometimes, and then we go out and we're doing our stuff, and we're fishing for whatever it is in life. And we're fishing on one side of the boat, and we're trying to get a catch. Maybe it's like, I'm going to deal with this relationship this way. I'm gonna deal with this circumstance this way. I'm going to deal with this illness this way. I'm going to deal with whatever it is, my job this way. I'm going to deal with my finances this way. And we're casting the net every time on this side of the boat. And what Jesus is saying is cast it on the other side. It's like the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is green where you water it. Listen. There is no more fish on the other side. It's not about what side you are on. What is Jesus trying to say? When you're on this side, you're casting the net for you. You're thinking that your techniques will work. Hey guys, you went out at nighttime because nighttime is the time that people fish. And you did all these different techniques. You went in the shallow, and you think you got it figured out, and you think you can get this catch. You can deal with your relationships. You can deal with your marriage. You can deal with your family. You can deal with your illness. You can deal with your stuff, and you're thinking you can just handle it on your own, and you're using all your techniques. Well, guess what? My charm will work. Guess what? My reputation will get me this job. Guess what? I'll just do it on my own. I'm going fishing. And Jesus is yelling from the shore. He's saying, hey, throw it on the other side. Not because there's more fish, but hey, guess what? On the other side, whose idea was that? That was God's idea. He's saying, hey, you're casting it on this side and you're trying to do it without me. If you'll throw it on the other side, I'm with you. And he's saying, go. Here's the point, if you want a point. I just came up with this morning. Go with God. It's not profound. It's not crazy, but go with God. Because you're trying to deal with your own stuff. You're trying to make your own catch because what you think is important. There's battle number one. What we think is important. Peter's like, what's my job? What's my career going to look like? I gave up everything. Are we going to go to overthrow Rome? Like, am I going to be the vice president? Am I going to do this? Am I going to, hey, throw it on the other side. Because you're without me on this side. But guess what? This was my idea. And your charm, your reputation, your fame, how much money you have, it's not going to be enough It'll never be enough. It'll never satisfy. It will never get you what you want and what you think is important. But guess what? If you'll pull it out of the water, you don't need none of that stuff. Throw it on the other side. Guess what? This side's my idea, and I'm with you, so you'll catch everything you could ever want and more because I'm with you. So there's the first struggle. The difference in 7.5 feet is not that there's more fish on the other side. It's that God is on the other side. And when God is with you, nothing can be against you. And you're going to catch everything that you could ever want and more. So there's number one. Now here's number two. The second struggle is what the world tells us is important. But before I get into that, it said, and I read it, it says, Jesus was standing there and he yells out, and it says the disciples didn't realize that it was him. I think this is interesting. I can spend 1 week with somebody and recognize their voice. They spent 3 years with this guy. They should recognize his voice. They should recognize what his body looks like standing on the shore. It's only a football field away. I'm pretty sure if you stand on the shore and I'm a football field from you, I'm going to be able to recognize you to a certain extent. And it says that they didn't recognize his voice. Why is it that they did not recognize his voice? And yet he yells to them and they throw it on the other side and they catch so many fish that they couldn't even pull it. I want to propose to you, why is it that they didn't recognize his voice? Because they didn't expect him to be in such an average, ordinary place. This will preach for just a moment. All of us have our escape plans. We have our escape routes. Life becomes too overwhelming. I'm just going to get away. I'm going to go fishing. I'm going to go do me. I got to get away. I can't handle this. I can't handle my job. I can't handle my family. Don't even bring church around me. I just can't handle it anymore. I just need to get away. I don't need a worship song. I don't need a guided prayer. I just need to get away. I just need to go fishing. Don't give me none of that. So this is his escape place. These are these guys' escape place. And when they go to their escape place, they're thinking, God's not going to be here. I'm just going to be able to get away. I'm going to be able to. And then look what happens. Jesus shows up. And he's in this average, ordinary place where they didn't expect him. Where they escaped to. And my question is, do you have an escape place where you're trying to get away from everything in this life because it just becomes too overwhelming? And I would like to say to you, because I'm going to be honest, I have some escape routes. And because I do this on Sundays, oftentimes this can become overwhelming and stressful. So I associate this with God, and that's really messed up because God is good and God is for me, but sometimes this isn't always good and for me. But if I associate this with God, then I want to escape this and God, and I want to get away to my escape place. But guess what? I don't expect God to be in my escape place, but guess what? He's already there. And that's what I want to tell you today. That's number two. The first one was go with God. The second thing is God's already there. He's already there. Wherever you try to escape to, wherever you try to run to, wherever you think he's not going to be, wherever you think you can get some relaxation, guess what? You can't get true relaxation unless he is there. You can't get true peace unless he is there. And I'm having to learn that the hard way because I try to associate this with God, and this ain't God. God is good and God is for me, and if I want peace and I want relaxation, then I got to recognize wherever I escape to, he's already there. But what the world tells us is important. Now this is interesting. Jesus shouts, throw your net on the starboard side and you'll catch some. And they caught so many fish that they couldn't even pull in the net. And then watch what happens. Verse 7. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved, John thinks so highly of himself. That's John saying that because John wrote this. The disciple whom Jesus loved I wish we all had a little bit of John in us. We would just identify ourselves as the one who Jesus loved. But John's a little conceited, let's just be honest. The one who Jesus loved said to Peter, it's him. Oh, shoot, it's him. This is the third time. He's back. It's him. He's the one. Why do you think that they recognize? Jesus didn't say anything else, so it's not like, oh, his voice, it just made sense, or it just now got there, like that's him. They just didn't do a second glance. Oh yeah, that's him. No. Why do you think? Because what happened in Luke chapter 5? He said, hey, go out into the deep and during the day, and they're like, this is crazy. Like, we know what we're doing, but we'll do it anyways, Jesus. So they go out in the day, and they get a catch so big that it starts breaking their nets. You know what I think triggered John's mind? Oh, shoot, it's happening again. It's him. Hey, Peter, it's the Lord. This is a huge catch. You know we ain't been catching nothing all day. He told us to throw it 7.5 feet, and there's 153 fish in there. That's Jesus. I'm going to tell you right now, that is Jesus. And all that time, they didn't recognize him, but this huge catch helps them to recognize who it is. And then Peter, man, he's so excited. We're going to talk about this in a second because I just love this picture. He just like throws off his garment and dives in the water. He's just so excited. He's like 100 yards, 100 meters. Jesus, like football field. I don't even care. I'm diving in. I'm going to Jesus. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a second. But here's what's interesting. The second thing is what the world tells us is important. So we looked at what we think is important in the battle there and us trying to do it on our own. But if we just throw it to the other side, then that's where God is. All right, here's the second thing, what the world tells us is important. I told you that these guys are professional fishermen. That's what they do for a living. This catch would have been monumental. One of the greatest catches in the history of fishing. 153 giant fish are in this net at one time. It would have been huge. Everybody everywhere would have been talking about this catch 153. Hey, you heard about catch 153? It'll go on for years. They'll just be talking about it. Hey, did you see Peter in the boat? I was there. My grandfather was there. Like, did you see that catch? Like, oh man, it was crazy. Like, they would be known forever. Like, on their resume, it would literally read, they wouldn't have trouble getting a job because it would read, hey, at one time in one cast, I caught 153 fish. Hired. It would have been such a monumental, life-changing catch that it would have been so incredible. It would have gave them renown. It would have gave them fame. It would have gave them reputation. It would have gave them all the things that the world tells you is important. That's what would have happened here. This incredible catch of 153 fish all at once. That's what would have happened. But look what happens. It's incredible. I told you they're struggling with my career. What am I going to do next? How am I going to live? How am I going to make a living? No one's going to like me. I was the guy that was on Jesus' team, and now where's he at? He's going to be gone. And then this was their breakthrough. This was the catch that would set them back on track in society. They could have went from this moment, this catch, and lived on the earth and not had to worry any longer about the fact that they were associated with the guy that the government did not like in the day, that the Romans did not like. Their guilty by association would have just been wiped away because, hey, that's the 153 catch. And look what happens. They throw it in, it's so big they can't even pull in the net. And they're not going, oh my God, hey, everybody get over here. Hey, get your hands on this net. They're not like, hey, let's pull this thing, let's reel this thing in. No, they start seeing it like, I imagine they're sitting there, they're holding the net, and it just get like, we're going down. Like the boat's starting to tip a little bit, and like, hey, Peter, it's him. It's him. And somehow they're not so captivated by the 153 fish that could change their life, that could change their career, that's everything fame and renown and everything the world tells you. It would have been money. They would have never had to worry about money again in their life. Somehow they're not so captivated by what's in the net. They're captivated by the man that's 100 yards from them on the shore. And then what happens next is Peter's like, I'm not questioning my career anymore. He throws off his garment and he dives in that water and he's just swimming. He's swimming as hard as he can. He's just going. I don't even know how hard it is to swim 100 yards. I have a feeling it would be really hard and you'd be really tired. But he just kept going. And think about this. I love this image just for a moment. Think about him just going as hard as he can. That's Jesus. That's Jesus. Hey, don't disappear before I get to the land. Like, that's Jesus. And he's sitting there and he's swimming and he's losing his breath. But at the whole time, you know what's cool? This lake is the same lake that some crazy stuff happened on. This lake is the very same lake that when they were in the middle of a storm and they were freaking out and Jesus is sleeping in the boat. And they're, hey, like, wake him up. Get him to calm. This is crazy. What's going on? And then they wake him up like, guys, what's wrong? Ain't nothing wrong. And the storm's just calm. This is the same lake that when they're out on the water and there's a storm and then they think there's a ghost walking out on the water. Hey guys, that's a ghost. Like, what are we going to do? Where's Jesus at right now? We could really use him. And then turns out they recognize that it's Jesus. And this is the same water that the same man, Peter, he happens to be swimming in it now. He happens to step out of the boat in faith and step onto the water. And he starts walking on the water towards Jesus. This is the same lake that he walked on. I don't know about you, but this is just a crazy scene to me. I don't know if he just happened to throw off his garment and just think, oh man, I'll run this time. Or I don't know what it was. I don't know what happened. I don't think he was thinking too much about the water as much as he was, that's the man that did everything on this lake, and I can't wait to get to him. 153 fish will pale in comparison to the eternal glory that awaits me on that shore. But you know, this is going to get even crazier. Because what happens is, he gets to the shore, and I'm jumping around everywhere here. But this is just like, this story is just like crazy in my mind, because there's so much just correlations here. And like I said, I'm jumping around, so just pay attention to me and not the verses, because I'm sure it's going crazy right now. When they got to shore, it says they noticed a charcoal fire and some roasted fish and bread. So Peter he leaves the guys behind, like he's just so focused on Jesus. He's like, I just got to get to Jesus. And he's swimming and he's out of breath, and he gets up there and he's like, oh, Jesus, I love you. Oh, you're so good. You know, and he's hugging him and he's out of breath. He's like, I love you too. You know, Jesus is always calm and collected. And he's so excited. I have a feeling that Jesus happened to walk out onto the water a little bit, like on the edge. He was just so excited to see him. But it says they noticed a charcoal fire. You know what's crazy? One of the last few times that Peter saw Jesus was when he denied him by a fire. And that just gets me. The very place where he denied Jesus and he felt like his relationship was destroyed, and he felt so guilty and ashamed for what he had done to him. I don't think it's by accident that Jesus put a fire there, and that's the moment that he restores his relationship. And he embraces him and he hugs him. Could you imagine the emotion that Peter must have been feeling when he got to that shore? This may not be coming across as the most fluid message, and I'm jumping everywhere, but I'm just having some observations here today that I just think are crazy. I just think they're bizarre. I think they have major implications for our life. Maybe you can remember a time in your life where you feel like you had this cutoff with God, or you just feel like you had a disconnect. But just like Peter, I bet God's standing by the very same place that you felt like you left him, and he's ready to embrace you back into his arms. I just have a feeling that he already made the fire up just so you could recognize, hey, that place where you thought we had a disconnect, I've been here the whole time, and I'm just ready to see you. Here's what's cool, this career-changing catch. Watch what happens. The disciples then brought the boat to shore. So Peter dives in and goes to Jesus. And the disciples, they get the boat to shore, and they notice the charcoal fire and some roasted fish and bread. And then in verse 11 it says, so Peter Jesus then tells them, hey, bring some of the fish you caught. Peter waded into the water. Here's what's cool about that. They get to the shore. First, in the beginning of the story, Jesus asked him, have you caught anything to eat yet? And they're like, no, nothing at all. I have this massive catch, this career-changing catch, this life-changing catch. Peter completely ignores it, heads towards Jesus. And then they get there, and this guy's so funny. He's already got fish waiting on them cooking. He's already been Chef Boy Jesus cooking up the fish by the fire for the guys. Here's the thing. This is crazy. What you think is important, what the world tells you is important, Jesus has already got it. And you're trying to get it from both sides of the boat, from wherever you're at in your life, and you're just trying to collect, and you're trying to catch that thing that you're longing for most, that thing that you think will bring you satisfaction, that job, that relationship, that relief, that thing, whatever it is, that money. And what's funny is Jesus, the whole time, has got it on the shore. He's already been making them breakfast. And then when they get there, he says, bring some of the fish you caught. And this is interesting to me. I think Jesus is just saying, hey, look, we don't need it, but, I love what I was able to bless you with. So, hey, bring what I've given you, and we'll cook some of it too. And that's what Jesus is saying today, is whatever it is that you're catching or you're fishing for, whatever it is in this life that you're looking for, he's already got it and more. And it's great. But don't sell out to it, because he's already got it waiting on you. But hey, he wants you, we'll take some of it too. But then getting back to what happens with the disciples in verse 11. So Peter waded into the water and helped pull out the net to the shore. This is crazy, y'all. So the disciples get to shore, and they too left the catch in the boat. They didn't even drag it out onto the land. They left it in the boat because they're so captivated by this man. And they go to Jesus. They go to where the fish and bread is. They go to where the food is. They're not even concerned with the catch that would change their life forever. And then Jesus said, hey, we'll take some of that too. It's no problem. I've got enough here. But if y'all want to, I know I just blessed you with that. So, you bring it too, and we'll cook some of it up. And so Peter goes back, and he gets it out of the boat. But these guys are so captivated that they left the catch, the thing they were longing for, the thing that they wanted. And see, it was so full of large fish, there was exactly 153. I think it's interesting, 153, I was researching this, and I promise I'm almost done. I hope this has been helpful to you. This is not a normal message. I'm not trying to get you to receive it like a normal message. I'm making observations in a million different ways that I'm hoping that you can just grab something today and it helps you. But there's 153 fish. Well, there's believed by scholars that there were 153 species of fish in the Lake of Galilee. So it would remind Peter and the other guys of what God called them into. Think about this for just a minute. They're questioning, they're in limbo. What is my career going to look like? What's my life going to look like? And it's like Jesus, in one moment, he gives them 153 fish, but the 153, it's significant. It would have been 153 different species in the Lake of Galilee. What did Jesus tell them in Luke chapter 5? Hey, come and follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. I'm going to make you a fisher of every fish species that is in the earth. This is your calling. This is the thing that you were made for. Don't question whether you're going to have a 9-to-5, whether you're going to have a job, whether you're going to have a career, whether you're going to have a wife and kids. Don't be questioning all that stuff. And he reminds them there's 153 species of fish in this lake. And that's to signify every boy, girl, man, woman, color, race, ethnicity that exists on this planet. This is your calling. I'm going to make you fish for men. This would remind them what they were made to do. This would remind them of what's really important in this life. And Jesus says, come, let's have some breakfast. I want to make one last observation, and I promise I'm done. In Luke chapter 5, look what happened. Well, it's not going to be on your screen. I'll tell you what happens. So Jesus tells them, go out to the deep and fish. And they're like, all right, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but we'll do it anyways. So they ended up completely filling both boats with fish until they began to sink. That's what happened there. And then watch what happens in verse 8. This is Peter at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry. And then we're going to look at the contrast of Peter in the very end of Jesus' ministry here on the earth, where he's physically here. This is what happens. It says, when Simon Peter saw this astonishing miracle, he knelt at Jesus' feet and begged him, go away from me, Master, for I am a sinful man. This is crazy to me. Something happened in this 3-year time period where Peter was with Jesus. Because the first time that this happens, he freaks out and he's like, you got to get away from me. We cannot have this many fish. You just performed the miraculous, but you can't do that for me. Maybe that's you today. You can't do that for me, God, because I can't maintain that. I can't deserve that. I can't make you think I'm worthy of that. I'm never going to be good enough. You got to get away, because if I receive this fish, if I receive this catch, it's going to put a burden on my life that I can't sustain. So you got to keep this thing away. You better go right now. And he's scared to death. And he's all about relating to looking inward and saying, I can't earn this. I can't deserve this. He's thinking about how they relate to God. And he's like, no. I can't do this. This is going to be too much for me to sustain. Like, you got to go. And then look what happens 3 years later. They have this massive catch that they ain't even got in yet. And John's like, hey, it's him. And Peter's, oh my gosh, rips it off, and he just dives in that water, and he's so ecstatic, and he's swimming as hard as he can because he can't wait to get to Jesus. Why? I believe what happened in that 3-year time period is that Peter recognized it's not about what I think is important. It's not about what the world tells me is important. It's about what is really important, and what's really important is waiting 100 yards on the shore for me to get to it. This is what's really important. He recognized In the beginning, he was fearful because I can't earn this. I can't maintain this. This is too much of a burden. Then he recognized there's no burden at all. The burden is lifted off to me. Come to me, you who are weary and heavy laden, and find rest in me. That's what Jesus says. And he recognizes there is no rest in this life. I can bring in all these fish, but it'll never satisfy me. But if I run to the one who provides the fish, who provides the catch, who's already got the fish on the fire for me, the one who wants to have breakfast with me, the one who doesn't ask me to earn, to deserve, to sustain, the one who doesn't ask me to try to do and try to be and try to become all the things that the world wants me to be and all the things that I think I should be. I need to go to the one who says, I receive you as you are. You don't have to be stressed. You don't have to be overwhelmed. You can just receive. You can find rest. I've got the breakfast here. Don't worry about it. You don't need the fish. I've got the fish. It's all good. And he gets there and he finds rest in what's really important. See, time with Jesus will change your life. So stay in what's really important. See, what's important? I want everybody to recognize this. What's really important is not that you come to church. I keep coming, obviously. It's not that you sing a song, pray a prayer. You know what's really important in this story? They're out there trying to catch some fish. But you know what's really important? What's really, really, really important in this life, on this day, thousands of years ago, and today, what's really important is not the status, it's not the relationship, it's not the job, it's not how much money you have, it's not how big your house is, it's not how nice your car is, it's not this, that, and the other, it's not how healthy you are, your family is, and everybody else around you. You know what's important, and this is going to sound crazy to you, the only thing that's important is that in this life is having breakfast with Jesus. That's what it's all about. Being with Jesus, just being. I heard somebody say it recently. There's a reason that we're called human beings and not human doers, because we're really bad at doing anything. And we exist to be. God wants us to be human beings. Just be who you are. Just come, have breakfast with me. I love you. I receive you. You're my child. Just be. Some of you need to just receive that today and hear that today. What's really important is that you just have breakfast with Jesus and that you just be. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of the stress and anxiety and everything on my life, and all I really want is to just be. Because I'm going to find a lot more purpose in being than doing. I just want to have breakfast with Jesus. I bet that breakfast tasted good, by the way. All right, let's pray. Jesus, thank you so much.